Hey guys, Quentin with 99 Slober here. I'm here with Megan. We're here at the Stearman Airfield fly-in and car show today for cars and cockpits. We got some pretty cool stuff here. There's a lot of planes, a lot of cars. Honored to be a part of this. And Megan flew in from out of town from Wichita originally. Going to tell you a little more about a really cool plane here.
Perfect. So I'm Megan. I actually flew out of K-88, which is Iola, Kansas. It's about a hour flight straight east of here. My airplane is a Nanchang CJ-6A. It's powered by a 285 horsepower Husai engine, two-blade prop. It's a constant speed prop. It's originally used by China to train their jet pilots. So China took Russia's Yak-52 and turned it into the Nanchang CJ-6A. So this is the upgraded version of the Yak-52 in my opinion. They're both great airplanes. So it is a tandem two-seat airplane. So both front and back, you can pilot the airplane from. So in China, the instructor would sit in the rear, the student would learn and fly the airplane, and then eventually the instructor gets out and you're flying the airplane on your own. We still fly them just like the military did. It's an airplane that's run almost entirely by pneumatics. It doesn't have any hydraulics whatsoever on it. It has an air system that you pump up an air bottle. We either use an air pump or a scuba bottle.
Nice.
And the starter runs on air. The landing gear runs on air and the flaps run on air. We also have a backup emergency air system just in case we have a leak somewhere along the way. But
That's
overall,
good.
It's a fantastic airplane. You can't make a bad landing in it because of the trailing link landing gear. Overall, I'm extremely happy with it. I've been flying it since 2019. It's my fifth year flying it, fifth year owning it, and it's done nothing but good things for me and gotten better and better along the way. We do wear parachutes in this airplane. So I've got Butler parachutes, and then we have a harness that straps you to the airplane itself. I do have all of the stock instruments. So overall, it's a simple airplane. You'll see your standard six-pack. There's nothing in there that's out of the norm. It's just a lot of it's still in Chinese. And then we also have a buddy of ours. His name's Clint Davis. He has an M14 powered Nanchang. So it's the same airplane, just a little bit of an upgraded engine. It's got a three-blade prop and 400 horsepower. So it climbs a lot better than mine does, but it's about the same speed in cruise.
Nice.
Overall, both great airplanes. They fly very well together. And then we also took up here as well, my husband's T-28A model is what North America used for our jet trainers for the F-86 Sabre. So overall, they're a lot of fun. We love the trainers. You can take people up. They love enjoying the airplane just like we do. Overall, it's a blast. We're flying every single weekend.
I'd imagine this being an older plane is like driving an older car.
Yes.
Less doohickeys and what bells and whistles, right?
Yes,
So
yep. It's all old instruments, all old gauges.
No G1000 on this? No. Do you like the older style more than the new?
Depends on what you're using it for.
Sure.
So they
Yep.
both have their place.
So I gotta ask, a lot of my followers aren't airplane people,
Yeah.
but a lot of car people. What would you compare this to in the car world?
That's a really good question. Reliability-wise, maybe a Cobra. Working on it every once in a while, but it's overall you can get it out and pull it out and fly it.
Good.
This one's like 1968 Chevelle, 1970 Chevelle.
Okay.
A little bit more work, a whole lot more fun,
Okay.
a lot rowdier.
And we're here with Vince with a pretty cool plane. If you'd like to tell us about it.
Sure. It's North American T-28. This one's an A model, Air Force, built in 1949. They use this as the primary and mostly advanced trainer during the 50s. U.S. Air Force used them for a little while, didn't really love the airplane. The Navy picked it up, put a bigger engine on it, and continued to use it all the way into I think in the late 80s,
Okay.
actually.
Wow.
So they use it for carrier operations, obviously, you had a hook. This particular airplane was built in 49. It served with the U.S. Air Force, and then at some point it went to Mexico.
Okay.
We gave it to them, and then they used it as a trainer. 800 horsepower, 1,300 cubic inches, cruises 170 knots, something like that.
Right.
The instructor would have sat in the back. Mainly used it just during the jet era training. So we went from the T-6, which was a tailwheel airplane, T-6 Texan, made by the same company, North American,
Yeah, cool.
to the T-28 tricycle gear and the big humongous flaps and all this. So it was teaching you to get ready to fly the Sabre.
Gotta start small.
Yeah, you gotta start huge.
Yeah, it's not a small plane.
It's not a small
Not
airplane.
a small plane.
So what I always say, I can't imagine being 1950 and being 19 years old, and this.
Here you go. Figure it out.
All the guys I've talked to that did that said we didn't know any better.
Start with what you got, and then you work your way up. And
Yep.
man, that's a long service life too.
It was, yeah. So they used them in Vietnam for
Mhm.
counterinsurgency, the Secret War they call it. The Ravens was the group that flew in Vietnam. So a lot of A models were converted to Ds, and they had hard points. They look like little miniature Sky Raiders, basically. So they would have 50 caliber gun pods, and then they carry ordnance outboard.
Oh, nice.
This one did have ordnance strapped to it quite a bit. The pinch bolts in the wing, you can definitely tell it was used.
That's good.
So,
I mean,
yeah.
no, you got a cool life with your plane. So
Yeah.
so you guys are going to Oshkosh. You said you're going to polish it up.
Yep.
Tell us just a little bit about the journey there and how that goes.
Okay, Oshkosh is the biggest air show in the world. Something around, I think, 12,000 airplanes, somewhere around that number, and 600,000 people come that week. So
Into a little tiny town in Wisconsin.
a little tiny town in Wisconsin that turns into its own town on the airport. We'll be flying this up there. It's the 80th anniversary for this airplane this year. And so basically, we'll be polishing it, getting it looking pretty. It hasn't been polished in a couple of years. And then fly it up.
One other question I got for you.
Yeah.
So I asked Megan what she'd compare the Nanchang to in the car world. What would you compare this to in the car world?
32 Highboy with a Hemi.
Good for burnouts.
Nasty, big, noisy. Yeah. That's what I compared to.
The flyby earlier, super cool.
Yeah, those are on purpose. So that was an entry to a break. The reason you do that is the brake keeps you as close to your runway as possible.
Right.
And with all these people, I wanted to stay as close as I could
No doubt.
in the air, right? It's a fun airplane. It's a blast.
Well, it's really cool to see people like you guys keeping these things flying and keeping it going, keeping the heritage and the history going. So
Yeah, that's a full-time job. Keeping it
no
flying.
doubt, no doubt.
Heck yeah.
Well, thanks again, and we'll let you get you some lunch. So
All right.
thank you again.
Thank you.